The crosshairs settled on the steel plate 1,400 yards downrange. In the gathering darkness of Coronado's shooting complex, Sloane Kincaid's world contracted to the space between heartbeats. Wind gusted at 25 miles per hour, cold Pacific air carrying the taste of salt and memory. "She's gonna miss," someone whispered behind her. Frost's voice cut through the murmur. "I'm betting she doesn't even take the shot." Sloane's finger rested beside the trigger guard of the Remington 700. Her father's compass pressed against her chest beneath the plate carrier, warm from her body heat. The shot was impossible. Everyone knew it. 1,400 yards in wind that made the range flags snap like rifle reports. In daylight, maybe, but sunset had painted the sky blood orange, and shadows were swallowing the target. She closed her eyes. Her father's voice echoed across 14 years. "At this distance, you don't aim with your eyes. You aim with your soul." Sloane opened her eyes, and then 12 weeks earlier. The gate to Naval Special Warfare Center stood before her like a judgment. Sloane Kincaid shifted the weight of her pack and checked her watch. 0500 hours. January cold bit through her running jacket despite Southern California's reputation for warmth. In her other hand, she carried a manila folder. Inside, her application packet, medical clearance, physical fitness scores, and stapled to the back, a single photograph of a man in desert camouflage, his face creased with sun and sand and something deeper. Master Chief Garrett Kincaid, SEAL Team 3, killed in action, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, March 15th, 2010. 14 years ago. She'd been 12. Behind the gate, morning PT was already underway. Sloane could see them on the grinder, the concrete courtyard where dreams came to die. Instructors in khaki uniforms circled like sharks. Students in matching gray shirts moved through push-ups, their breath misting in the pre-dawn air. She'd been here before. 3 years ago, carrying the same folder, the same photograph. They'd rejected her application with professional courtesy and the polite suggestion to reapply when she was ready. She'd spent 1,000 days getting ready. A figure detached from the shadows near the gate. Old, weathered like driftwood. His khaki uniform bore the insignia of a Master Chief, and his face looked like it had been carved from the same stone as Mount Rushmore. "You're early," he said. "Yes, Master Chief." His eyes tracked over her, measuring. Sloane stood 5'3" in boots, 120 pounds soaking wet. She knew what he saw, what they all saw. But then his gaze stopped on the folder in her hand, on the photograph visible through the clear plastic window. Something shifted in his expression. A tectonic movement, barely perceptible. "Name," he said, though his voice had changed. "Kincaid. Sloane Kincaid." The silence stretched between them like a rope pulled taut. On the grinder, someone screamed encouragement. Or pain. Sometimes they sounded the same. "Master Chief Thaddeus Bridger," he said finally. "I run this program. I ran it when your father went through, in 1989. Sloane's heart kicked against her ribs. Bridger stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the scars on his forearms, the deep crow's feet around his eyes. Close enough to see something else. Something that looked like grief, carefully controlled. "Helmand Province," he said quietly. "March 2010. I was there." The world tilted. "He put his body between me and an RPG," took shrapnel meant for my skull. Bridger's hand rose unconsciously to his left temple, where a long white scar disappeared into his gray hair. Saved 6 of us that day. Died doing it. Sloane couldn't speak. Couldn't move. So here's how this works, Kincaid. Bridger's voice hardened, returned to parade ground steel. I owe your father my life. That debt dies with me. It doesn't transfer to you. You will get no special treatment, no sympathy, no allowances. I don't want any, Master Chief. Good, because you won't survive here on his legacy. You'll survive on yours. He pulled something from his pocket, but he'd want you to have this. It was a compass, military issue, brass case, worn smooth, the kind that had guided men through jungles and deserts and mountains for 50 years. When Sloane opened it, she saw engraving on the inside of the lid, G. Kincaid. True North finds those who seek it. 1989. He gave this to me before that last mission, Bridger said. Told me if he didn't come back, and if you ever showed up here, to give it to you. His eyes locked on hers. He believed you would. I didn't. Sloane's fingers closed around the compass. Prove me wrong, Kincaid. Again. The locker room smelled like bleach and testosterone and fear. Sloane changed into the gray PT uniform among 32 other candidates. She was the only woman. She'd known she would be. The stares started immediately. Most were curiosity. Some were resentment. A few were calculation, men sizing up competition, looking for weakness. Sloane had learned long ago not to acknowledge any of it. She dressed with mechanical efficiency, laced her boots with knots her father had taught her when she was 7. Well, well, looks like the diversity quota showed up. The voice came from her left. Sloane didn't turn. I'm talking to you, sweetheart. She finished her laces, stood, turned. The man was 6 feet tall and built like a fire hydrant, compact, solid, immovable. His name tape read Caldwell. His eyes were winter gray, and they held no warmth whatsoever. Name's Brennan Caldwell. People call me Frost. He crossed massive arms. You got a name? Or should I just call you First Out? Kincaid. Recognition flickered across his face, then suspicion. Any relation to Master Chief Garrett Kincaid? He was my father. The room went quiet. Even men who'd been deliberately ignoring her looked up. Frost's expression hardened. So you're trading on Daddy's reputation. That's how you got in here. I got in here the same way you did. I qualified. We'll see. He leaned closer. His breath smelled like coffee and contempt. I had a sister try this program 2 years ago. Wren. She was tougher than me, smarter than me. They passed her through training until Hell Week. Then reality hit. She quit on day 2. Been in therapy ever since. I'm sorry to hear that. I bet you are. Know what I think? Frost's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I think they lowered the standards to get women through. I think my sister destroyed herself trying to meet a standard they kept dropping. And I think you're going to wash out just like her, except you'll have Daddy's name to cushion the fall. Sloane met his eyes, held them. I'm not your sister, and I'm not here because of my father. I'm here to spite him. We'll see about that, Kincaid. He turned and walked away. 3 other men followed him, his pack, his crew. They shot glances back at her, measuring, judging. Sloane shouldered her pack and followed everyone else onto the grinder. The sun had barely cracked the horizon when they lined up. 32 candidates, 31 men and Sloane. Master Chief Bridger stood before them like a monument to controlled violence. My name is Master Chief Bridger. For the next 12 weeks, I am God, gravity, and the only thing standing between you and the ocean that wants to kill you. His voice carried across the grinder without effort. Decades of commanding men in chaos had given it edges that cut through wind and distance. Look around. Most of you will not be here in 12 weeks. Some of you will quit today. Some will quit when it gets hard. And some, his eyes found Sloan, held for a fraction of a second, moved on, will quit when they realize that wanting something is not the same as earning it. He began to pace, combat boots striking concrete in rhythmic percussion. I have been training SEALs for 41 years. I went through this program in 1983, when the water was so cold we lost men to hypothermia. We trained to fight Soviet naval infantry in Arctic conditions. We trained because the Cold War was real, and the enemy was coming, and we needed to be ready. He stopped, turned. Your fathers fought in that war. Some of you had fathers who fought in other wars: Gulf War, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. You stand here today because men before you stood in darker places and held the line. His voice softened, just slightly. This training exists to forge you into men worthy of that legacy. It will break you repeatedly. And if you cannot put yourself back together, you do not belong here. Sloan felt the weight of the compass in her pocket. Physical training. Now. They started with 8-count bodybuilders. A simple exercise made hellish through repetition. Down into push-up position. Kick feet out. Down. Up. Feet in. Jump. Clap. Down. Repeat. 100 times. By 30, Sloan's shoulders burned. By 60, men were groaning. By 80, the first candidate dropped to his knees. On your feet, Simmons. Nobody quits on day 1. Simmons got up, kept going. Sloan focused on form, perfect form, every rep. Her father had trained her on these same exercises from the time she was 10 years old, in the backyard of their house near San Diego. He'd made her do them until muscle memory erased thought. Your mind will quit before your body does. Train the body, control the mind. At 100, they moved to sit-ups, then squats. Then they ran 5 miles. Along the beach, through soft sand that grabbed at every footfall. The Pacific stretched gray and infinite to their left. To their right, Coronado's buildings watched in silence. Frost ran near the front of the pack. Sloan ran in the middle, maintaining pace, conserving energy. She'd learned that from her father, too. Don't lead when you don't have to. Save something for when you do. At mile 3, Frost dropped back, deliberately, until he was running beside her. Keeping up okay, princess? She didn't answer. Maintained breathing rhythm, in through nose, out through mouth. Steady. Silent treatment. Cute. He pushed harder, pulled ahead slightly. Then his foot shot out. It looked like an accident. Could have been an accident. His boot caught her ankle mid-stride. Sloan stumbled, caught herself, kept running. Behind them, one of Frost's friends laughed. She filed it away, said nothing, ran on. They finished in 36 minutes. Frost, 34:50. The fastest time was 32:12. A lean man named Dalton who ran like a machine. Not bad for day one, Bridger announced. Tomorrow we add weight. Dismissed for chow. Report to range 7 at 0900. The shooting range sprawled across the eastern edge of the base. 6 rifle lanes, 6 pistol lanes, and a long-range complex that extended to 1,500 yards. Sloan stood in line with the others, waiting for weapons issue. The armorer was a grizzled chief petty officer with a tattoo of a trident on his forearm, the symbol of a qualified SEAL. He handed out weapons with the care of a man passing out pieces of his soul. Sig Sauer P226, standard SEAL sidearm since 1989. Treat it like your firstborn child. He slapped the pistol into each candidate's hands. M4A1 carbine, modified from the original Colt design. Gas impingement system, 14.5-inch barrel. Effective range, 500 meters. This weapon has saved more lives than penicillin. Respect it. When Sloan's turn came, the chief paused. Kincaid? Yes, Chief. He looked at her. Really looked. Then he set down the weapons and reached beneath the counter, pulled out a different M4A1. This one was worn, the finish rubbed smooth in places from use. This was your father's rifle. He qualified with it, trained with it, kept it maintained like a temple. The chief's voice roughened. He was the best shooter I ever trained, could thread a needle at 300 yards. I kept this after... He stopped, cleared his throat. I kept it. Figured maybe someday. Well, here we are. Sloan took the rifle. It was heavier than she expected. Or maybe that was just the weight of history. Thank you, Chief. Don't thank me. Just shoot straight. That's how you honor him. The range exercises started simple. Sight alignment, trigger control, breathing rhythm. But Master Chief Bridger didn't teach simple things simply. The pistol was developed in the 14th century. We've had 600 years to perfect the art of putting holes in targets. And yet, men still miss. He walked behind the line of candidates. Why? Because shooting is not about the weapon, it's about the shooter. Your heartbeat is an earthquake at 25 yards. Your breathing is a hurricane. Your fear is a thunderstorm. Control yourself, control the shot. They fired in turns. P226 at 25 yards. Standard qualification, 50 rounds. 40 required hits for minimum pass. Frost went first in Sloan's group. He settled into stance. Weaver, slightly blade, strong foundation. Controlled breathing, smooth trigger press. 42 hits. Good, not great. Others followed. Scores ranged from 38 to 45. 2 men failed to qualify and would have to shoot again later. Kincaid, you're up. Sloan stepped to the line, loaded the magazine. 15 rounds, 9mm parabellum. The weight of the pistol felt right in her hands. How many thousands of times had her father placed a gun in her palms, corrected her grip, adjusted her stance? Feel the weapon become part of you. Extension of will. When you shoot, you're not pulling a trigger, you're making a decision. She raised the pistol. Front sight, sharp focus. Target, slight blur. Rear sight, fuzzy bracket. Her finger found the trigger. 3.5 pounds of pressure stood between intent and action. She applied it smoothly, a continuous increase until, crack! The pistol recoiled. She let it come back naturally, found the sight picture again, pressed again. Crack! Rhythm, like a heartbeat. 15 rounds downrange in 12 seconds. Magazine change, smooth, no fumbling. Her hands knew the motion like breathing. 15 more rounds, 12 seconds. 20 more rounds, last magazine. The pistol grew hot. Brass sang as it hit concrete. The smell of gunpowder hung in salt air. Click. Empty. She set the pistol down. Pressed the button to bring the target forward. The range officer walked over, examined the target. His eyebrows climbed. Master Chief, you need to see this. Bridger approached, looked at the target, said nothing for 3 heartbeats. 50 rounds, 50 hits, group size 1.5 inches. He turned to look at Sloan. Where did you learn to shoot like that? My father taught me, Master Chief, starting when I was 7. Frost's voice cut from behind. Lucky day. Luck? Bridger's head swiveled. Caldwell, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. This is preparation meeting expectation. He looked back at the target. Your father could shoot. Apparently, he taught you well. They moved to the M4A1 range. 100 yards, standing position, no support, iron sights. Frost shot first again. 85 hits out of 100. Solid performance. Sloan stepped up with her father's rifle. It felt different from the M4s she'd trained with on her own time. This one had history. Worn edges where hands had gripped it in deserts and mountains. Scratches that might have come from rocks or walls or desperate movements in darkness. She loaded the magazine. 30 rounds, 5.56 NATO. Aimed. And felt her father's presence like he was standing behind her, hands guiding hers. Breathing controls everything. Heart rate, sight picture, trigger press. Master your breath. Master the shot. She fired. The rifle pushed back into her shoulder. She rode the recoil, brought it back down, fired again. The motion became automatic. Breath control between shots. Reset the trigger. Press. Repeat. When the smoke cleared and the target came forward, the range officer didn't call for Bridger. He just stared. Perfect score. 100 out of 100. Jesus Christ. Bridger walked over, looked at the target, looked at Sloan. Chief Rodriguez tells me this was your father's rifle. Yes, Master Chief. He used to shoot perfect scores in training. Got so good we banned him from instructor courses because he made everyone else look bad. Something that might have been a smile tried to form on Bridger's granite face. It failed. Apparently genetics matter. Behind her, Sloan heard muttering. Frost's voice rose above it. Bet Daddy taught her that at home. Private instruction. Regular candidates don't get that advantage. Bridger turned. Caldwell, you want to discuss advantages? Fine. Let's discuss how your application packet lists 3 years of Marine Corps service, including Scout Sniper School. That's not an advantage? That's earned military experience, Master Chief. And her training is what? Chopped liver? Bridger's voice could have cut steel. She qualified. Her scores speak for themselves. If you have a problem with that, there's a bell by the grinder. Ring it 3 times, and you can leave. The bell was famous. The brass bell that hung beside the grinder. Ring it 3 times, and you quit. Drop on demand, they called it. A permanent surrender. Frost said nothing. That's what I thought. Kincaid, secure your weapon. Everyone else, continue exercises. That night, Sloan sat on her rack in the barracks. The all-male barracks. They'd offered her private quarters. She'd refused. SEALs operate in teams. She needed to be part of the team, not separate from it. Most of the men ignored her. Some nodded in respect after the range performance. A few maintained hostile silence. Frost and his three friends, Marcus, Jake, and Tony, sat across the bay, talking, not quite whispering, loud enough for her to hear. 50 for 50 on pistol, 100 for 100 on rifle. First day. Marcus shook his head. That's not normal. That's not training, Jake added. That's genetic lottery combined with private instruction. My sister trained her whole life, Frost said. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. She could outshoot most men I know. Still failed here. But little Miss Kincaid gets Daddy's rifle and Daddy's reputation. And suddenly, she's the golden child. What are you going to do about it? Tony asked. Frost looked across the barracks. Made eye contact with Sloane. Held it. Nothing. Yet. But Hell Week's coming. That's where training meets reality. We'll see how much Daddy's lessons matter when she's freezing in 50-degree water with no sleep and instructors screaming in her face. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Sloane opened her pack. Inside, wrapped in a waterproof bag, was the letter her father had written 14 years ago. She'd read it 100 times, could recite it from memory. But tonight, she needed to see his handwriting. The paper was worn soft at the folds. His writing was crisp, military precise. Sloane, if you're reading this at Coronado, you made the choice I both feared and hoped for. I'm proud. I'm terrified. Both emotions are equally true. You've trained for this since you were 7. Not because I wanted you to be a soldier, but because I wanted you to understand what it means to push past limits. To find strength when strength is gone. Being a SEAL isn't about physical power. It's about mental unbreakability. When your body screams to quit, your mind must be silent steel. I'm leaving you coordinates. 32.6866 degrees north, 117.1839 degrees west. Go there when you doubt yourself. You'll understand. I trained you for 12 years. Now it's your turn to show them what the Reaper's daughter can do. I love you. I believe in you. Always, Dad. Sloane traced the coordinates with her finger. She'd looked them up years ago. Somewhere on this base, somewhere specific. But she hadn't gone there yet, was waiting for the right moment. She refolded the letter, placed it back in the waterproof bag, lay back on the rack. Across the bay, Frost and his friends continued talking, planning, scheming. Let them plan, let them scheme. She'd been preparing for this her entire life. Day 2 began at 0430 with surf torture. The instructors called it getting wet and sandy. The candidates had other names for it. None were appropriate for polite company. The Pacific Ocean in January was 58 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to kill through hypothermia. Not immediately, slowly, insidiously. The kind of cold that seeped into bones and made muscles forget how to work. Link arms, Bridger commanded. They formed a line in the surf. Waves hammered them. The water was shockingly, violently cold. Sloane gasped as it hit, her body reacting before her mind could override it. Next to her, men were cursing, shivering, trying not to show weakness. Comfortable? Bridger asked. No one answered. Good. Stay there. He walked up the beach, sat down, checked his watch. The waves kept coming. Each one was a fresh assault. Salt water flooded mouths, noses, eyes. The cold became everything. Sloane felt her core temperature dropping, felt her extremities going numb. Control your mind. The cold is temporary. Pain is temporary. Quitting is permanent. Her father's voice. Always her father's voice. 10 minutes passed. It felt like an hour. 15 minutes. Men were shaking violently. One started crying, tears and salt water and snot running down his face. At 20 minutes, someone broke from the line, ran up the beach, headed for the bell. "Simmons is secure," an instructor called. The man ran to the bell, rang it 3 times. Each ring carried across the compound like a death knell. "Get warm, Simmons. Your war is over." 25 minutes. More men wavering. Sloane forced herself to breathe. Slow, controlled. Generate internal heat through controlled breathing. Another technique her father had taught her. At 30 minutes, Bridger stood. "Recover on the beach." They stumbled out of the surf. Sloane's legs barely worked. She collapsed on sand that felt warm even though it was 60 degrees. Her body shook uncontrollably. Hypothermia's first stage, mild, survivable. Frost collapsed nearby. His lips were blue, his hands shook. But he was grinning. "Not bad for day 2, Kincaid." But this was the easy part. She wanted to answer. Couldn't. Her jaw muscles wouldn't cooperate. Frost laughed. "Cat got your tongue? Or maybe Daddy didn't teach you cold water survival." He was wrong. Her father had taught her exactly that. In lakes, rivers, even ice water baths at home. But she didn't waste breath explaining. She just looked at him, held his eyes until he looked away. The days blurred together. Physical training, ocean swims, obstacle courses, classroom instruction on tactics, navigation, weapon systems, each day designed to break them down. Each night designed to give just enough recovery to survive the next day. By the end of week 2, the class had dropped from 32 to 28. By the end of week 4, 24 remained. Sloane was still there. Perfect PT scores, top marks on written tests, solid performance on every evolution. And every evolution, Frost was there, watching, waiting. The incident at the obstacle course happened on a Tuesday. The O course was a sadistic masterpiece of human suffering. Parallel bars, rope climb, cargo net, balance logs, barbed wire crawl. Standard time was 10 minutes. Anything under 9 was excellent. The course record was 8:45, set 3 years ago by a candidate who went on to SEAL Team 6. Frost had run it in 9:12, best time in the current class. "Kincaid, you're up," the instructor called. Sloane approached the start line. The parallel bars waited. Simple in concept. Swing yourself down the length using only your arms. Brutal in execution when your shoulders were already destroyed from a morning of log PT. "Go." She grabbed the bars, swung, built momentum. Her shoulders screamed. She ignored them, reached the end, dropped. Rope climb, 30 feet straight up. No legs, arms only. Technique and power. She climbed, fast, smooth. Dropped down, cargo net. Scramble up 15 feet, over the top, down the other side. This was where it happened. She was halfway up when Frost accidentally bumped into the bottom of the net. The whole structure shook. Sloane's left hand slipped. She caught herself with her right, kept climbing. At the top, Frost was there, coming over from his own run. Their eyes met. His foot shifted, just slightly, just enough. Sloane's hand, reaching for the next hold, found air instead. She fell, 8 feet, landed on her back. Air exploded from her lungs. The instructor was there instantly. "Kincaid, you okay?" She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. The world was gray static and her lungs wouldn't work, and breathe, force it, control it. Air rasped in, out, in. "I'm fine," she wheezed. "That looked like a fall. You want to see medical?" "No, I'm fine." She forced herself to stand. Blood dripped from her left palm where she'd scraped it. "I'm finishing the course." "You sure?" "Yes." She climbed the cargo net again. Frost was gone. Over the top, down the other side, balance logs, barbed wire crawl, sprint to the finish. Time, 8:58. New class record, despite the fall. The instructor stared at his stopwatch. "How the hell?" Sloane walked past him, found Frost near the water station. "That was quite a tumble," Frost said. "Sure you're okay?" "I'm fine." "Good. Hate to see you get hurt, especially from something preventable, like, I don't know, losing your grip. Happens to people who aren't strong enough for this course." He smiled. "Just looking out for you, Kincaid." She stepped closer. "I know what you did." "I don't know what you mean." "You know exactly what I mean. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to keep trying to break me, and I'm going to keep beating you at everything until you either accept it or quit." She turned to walk away, then stopped. "By the way, 8:58. That's my time. Beat it if you can." She walked away, left him standing there. That night, her hand throbbed where she'd scraped it. She wrapped it carefully, working around the pain. Across the barracks, Frost sat with his friends. They weren't talking now, just watching. She felt their eyes like targeting lasers. Sloane pulled out the compass Bridger had given her, opened it, read the inscription for the 100th time. "True north finds those who seek it." Her father had carried this through deserts and mountains, through missions she'd never know about. And when he'd known he might not come back, he'd given it to Bridger with instructions. "Give it to Sloane when she's ready." She closed the compass. Tomorrow was another day, another test, another opportunity to prove she belonged. Outside, the Pacific whispered against the shore, the same ocean that had tested her father, the same ocean that had tested thousands of men before him. Now, it was testing her. She was ready. Week 5 arrived with the inevitability of a tidal wave. Hell Week. 5.5 days of continuous training with a maximum of 4 hours of sleep total. Not per night. Total. 132 hours of controlled chaos designed to find the breaking point of the human spirit, and then push past it. Sunday evening, the candidates sat in the barracks cleaning weapons. Normal routine. Deceptively calm. Everyone knew what was coming. The tension was a physical presence in the room. Sloane methodically disassembled her father's M4A1, cleaned each component with ritual care. Beside her, another candidate named Quinn worked on his own rifle. He was quiet, competent, one of the few who'd treated her with simple professionalism from day one. "My brother went through Hell Week in 2018, Quinn said softly. Said the first night was the worst. They come for you when you think you're safe." "When did he quit?" Sloane asked. "Day 4. Hypothermia. Medical pulled him." Quinn glanced at her. He said the guys who made it weren't the strongest. They were the ones who could turn their minds off, stop thinking, just exist. Before Sloane could respond, the lights went out. Instantly, the barracks erupted in chaos. Doors slammed open. Instructors poured in wearing camouflage paint, screaming, spraying fire hoses. "Get outside! Now! Move! Move! Move!" Water hammered into bunks. Men scrambled, slipping, falling. Sloane grabbed her boots and ran. Cold night air hit her skin. She was wearing PT shorts and a t-shirt. Nothing else. On the grinder, instructors wielded hoses like weapons. The water was ice cold. They hosed down every candidate who emerged from the barracks. Sloane felt the stream hit her chest, her face, her legs. The cold was immediate and absolute. "Welcome to Hell Week," Master Chief Bridger's voice carried across the compound. "For the next 5.5 days, you belong to us. Your comfort is irrelevant. Your pain is irrelevant. Your desire to quit is extremely relevant, because that bell is always there. 3 rings, and the pain stops." Sloane could see the bell even in darkness. Brass catching moonlight. Silent promise of release. "Buddy up, 6-man teams, move!" The scramble began, men finding partners. Sloane found herself in a team with Quinn, 2 others named Morrison and Chen, and Frost, of course. Their 6th was a massive man named Tony, one of Frost's regular crew. The fix was obvious. Someone had arranged this deliberately. "I BS on your heads. Run to the beach." They grabbed the inflatable boat Small from the stack. 180 pounds of rubber and pain. 6 men lifted it overhead. Sloane's section of the boat pressed down on her shoulders, her neck. Her legs trembled but held. "Run!" They ran down the road, across sand, toward the surf. The boat bounced with each step. Every bounce sent shockwaves through Sloane's spine. "Faster! My grandmother moves faster!" They hit the surf zone. Waves exploded against them. The boat tried to flip. They held it overhead, water streaming over their arms, their faces. "In the boat! Paddle out!" They dropped the IBS into the water, scrambled aboard, grabbed paddles. The waves were 8 feet tall and angry. Each one tried to push them back to shore. Paddle, all together. 6 paddles hit water. But something was wrong. The boat was sluggish, turning. Sloane looked back. Frost wasn't paddling. His paddle dipped into the water but applied no force. Deliberate sabotage. "Frost, paddle!" Morrison screamed. "I am paddling." He wasn't. And because their rhythm was broken, the boat turned sideways. Exactly the wrong position for the next wave. It hit like a freight train. The boat flipped. Sloane went into the water. Cold darkness swallowed her. She couldn't tell which way was up. The IBS, now inverted, pressed down from above. She was trapped beneath it. Panic flared, immediate and primal. Her lungs already burning from exertion, now demanding air. The boat pinned her under. She pushed up. It didn't move. Too much water on top. Too heavy. She was going to drown in 10 feet of water on the first night of Hell Week. "No." Her father's voice cut through the panic like a blade. "In darkness, your mind is your only light. Control it." She stopped thrashing, forced herself to think. The boat was inverted. She was trapped in the air pocket underneath. But air pockets don't extend to the edges. The edges are open. She dove. Down. away from the air pocket, into deeper water. Her hands found sand. She crawled along the bottom. 5 feet. 10 feet. Her lungs were screaming now. True oxygen debt. The kind that makes your vision sparkle. Then her hand hit open water instead of rubber. She surged up, broke the surface, gasped air that tasted like ambrosia and salt and life. An instructor was there in a kayak. "Kincaid, you good?" "Yes. Get back to your boat." The IBS was being righted by the other 5. Sloane swam to it, hauled herself aboard. Frost was already in position, paddle ready. Their eyes met. His expression said everything. That wasn't an accident. But Sloane said nothing, just grabbed her paddle and kept going. They made it through the surf zone on the 3rd attempt, paddled south for half a mile, turned around, came back through the surf. By the time they dragged the boat back to the grinder, dawn was bleeding gray light across the horizon. They'd been wet and cold for 6 hours. Hell Week had barely started. "Boat crews, log PT." The telephone poles waited. 200 pounds of rough wood. Each crew would carry one, lift it, hold it, run with it, for hours. They hoisted their log. Sloane's shoulders were already destroyed from the boat. Now the log added new dimensions of pain. "Overhead press, up." 6 sets of arms lifted. The log rose. Sloane's arm shook. She forced them steady. "Hold, 10 seconds." The log wavered. Someone wasn't lifting their share. Sloane glanced left. Frost. His arms were extended, but not fully locked. The weight was shifting toward her and Quinn. Her shoulders felt like they were tearing. "Down, up." Again and again. 20 repetitions. Then lunges. Then they had to run. 2 miles, carrying the log. Sloane's shoulder developed a bruise where the wood pressed into muscle. The bruise turned purple, then black, but she didn't drop it. Frost and Tony kept sabotaging, subtle but constant, shifting weight, missing steps, forcing others to compensate. At the 2-mile mark, Sloane's legs gave out. She collapsed. The log came down on top of her. Quinn was there instantly. "Kincaid, you okay?" She couldn't answer. Her body had simply stopped responding. Complete muscle failure. Then another pair of hands joined Quinn's. Morrison. Together, they lifted the log off her. "Come on," Morrison said. "We got you." They hauled her up. She tried to stand. Her legs were rubber. "I can't." "Yes, you can," a new voice said. She looked up. The speaker was Alex Jennings, not part of their boat crew, one of the few who'd been consistently decent to her. Huge, farm boy strong, from Nebraska. "What are you doing?" an instructor barked. "Get back to your crew, Jennings." "She needs help, instructor." "That's not your problem." "A SEAL never leaves a teammate to suffer," Jennings said. His voice carried across the grinder. Maybe some people forgot that. He looked directly at Frost. The instructor hesitated, then nodded. "Help her. Move." Jennings took most of the log's weight on his shoulder. Sloane found her legs again. They finished the run together. When they finally dropped the log, Frost turned to Jennings. "Nobody asked you to white knight, farm boy. Nobody had to ask. That's the difference between you and me, Caldwell." Jennings stepped closer. "I actually understand what teamwork means." "You think, knock it off." Bridger's voice cut through. "Caldwell, Jennings, 40 push-ups, now. Kincaid, sit. Drink water." Sloane collapsed on the sand. Quinn brought her a canteen. She drank. The water tasted like hope. "Thank you," she whispered to Jennings as he dropped for push-ups nearby. "Don't mention it. Seriously, don't. I'll never hear the end of it." Despite everything, the pain, the cold, the exhaustion, Sloane almost smiled. They had 13 more hours before sleep would be allowed. The night crawled past like a wounded animal. Evolution after evolution. Surf torture. Runs. Swims. Boat drills. At some point, Sloane lost the ability to track time. Minutes blended into hours. Hours lost all meaning. On the morning of day 2, they were given 30 minutes of sleep. 30 minutes. Sloane fell unconscious the moment her head touched the ground. Woke up when instructors dragged her to her feet. "Log P, T, move!" Her body was a map of pain. Every muscle screamed. Her hands were raw from rope burns and paddle blisters. Her feet were swollen from miles of running in wet boots. She picked up her section of the log anyway. Frost was positioned behind her this time. During overhead lifts, he deliberately didn't lift his share. All the weight shifted forward onto Sloane and the man in front of her. On the 10th repetition, she collapsed again. "Kincaid, on your feet." She tried. Couldn't. Her arms wouldn't respond to commands. "You want to ring the bell?" the instructor asked. "End this?" She looked at the bell. 20 yards away. 3 rings. The pain would stop. She could be warm, dry, safe. Her father's letter surfaced in her memory. "When your body screams to quit, your mind must be silent steel." "No, instructor." "Then get up." Hands grabbed her. Quinn and Morrison. They hauled her vertical. "We got you," Quinn said. "Just hold on." They finished the log PT, somehow. Afterward, Frost approached while instructors were distracted. "You're going to quit," he said quietly. "Might as well do it now. Save yourself the pain." Sloane's vision was blurred from exhaustion, but she found his face, held his eyes. "I know what you're doing. I know why, and it's not going to work." "My sister. Your sister failed because she wasn't ready. That's not my fault. It's not women's fault. It's just reality." She stepped closer despite her body's protest. "I am ready, and every time you try to break me, I'm going to get stronger. So keep trying. Please. You're making me better." She walked away, left him standing there. Day 3 brought a new horror: night navigation. Each candidate would navigate alone through 10 miles of backcountry using only map and compass. 5 checkpoints, 3 hours to complete. Failure meant dismissal from the program. They issued maps at 0200 hours. Sloane's hands shook from exhaustion and cold as she took hers. Her brain felt like static. She'd slept maybe 2 hours total in 3 days. Checkpoints are marked on your maps. Find them. Mark your card. Return here. You have 3 hours. Go. Sloane stumbled into the darkness. Her red lens flashlight barely penetrated the night. She spread her map, found the first checkpoint coordinates. Grid 247-883, 2 kilometers northeast. She oriented her compass, started walking. 45 minutes later, she reached where the checkpoint should be. Nothing. No marker, no flag, nothing. She checked the map again, rechecked her pace count. She was in the right location. The checkpoint wasn't there. Something was wrong. She pulled out her map, studied it more carefully with the red light, and felt ice form in her stomach that had nothing to do with temperature. The terrain didn't match. The hills were wrong. The creek shown on her map didn't exist. This wasn't the right map. This was a map for a completely different training area 30 miles away. Someone had switched it. Sloane stood in the darkness. 2 hours and 15 minutes remaining. No map. No way to find 5 checkpoints scattered across miles of wilderness. This was designed to make her quit. She could go back, report the sabotage. They'd investigate, eventually, maybe. And she'd miss the time limit, fail the evolution, possibly get dismissed. Or she could navigate without a map. Her father had taught her land navigation from the time she was 10. They'd done it in forests, deserts, mountains. He'd taught her terrain association, dead reckoning, celestial navigation, every skill a SEAL might need if their equipment failed. Equipment fails. Knowledge doesn't. Train your mind to be your primary weapon. Sloane looked up. The stars were crystal clear. She found Polaris, true north. From there, she could orient herself. She knew the training area was roughly 8 miles square. The base was to the west, the ocean to the south. She could do this. She ran. Not following checkpoints now, following terrain. She knew the base, had studied maps obsessively for 3 years. Every hill, every trail, every landmark was burned into her memory. She found the first checkpoint by accident, stumbled onto it while navigating toward a distinctive hill, marked her card. The second checkpoint she calculated based on typical spacing. Instructors liked symmetry. If checkpoint 1 was at the northeast corner, checkpoint 2 was probably at the southeast. She ran there, found it. 3 down, 2 to go. She was navigating by pure instinct now, reading the land, feeling the slope of hills, following the sound of distant surf to maintain southern orientation. With 15 minutes remaining, she found the 4th checkpoint. With 3 minutes remaining, she found the 5th. She sprinted back to the start point, crossed the line with 40 seconds to spare. The instructor checked her card, looked up in surprise. "You found all 5? "Yes, instructor." "How? Half the candidates haven't found even 2 yet." "I navigated, instructor." "Let me see your map." She handed it over. He examined it, frowned. "This is the wrong map. This is for Pendleton North Range." "Yes, instructor." "How did you navigate with the wrong map?" "I didn't use the map, instructor. I used terrain association and celestial navigation." Master Chief Bridger materialized from the darkness. "Explain." Sloane did. Described her methods. The instructor and Bridger exchanged glances. "Somebody switched your map," Bridger said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, Master Chief." "You know who?" "I have suspicions. No proof." Bridger studied her. "You could have come back, reported it. We would have investigated." "And failed the evolution while you investigated, Master Chief. So instead, you completed an impossible navigation exercise with no map, minimal equipment, while exhausted from 3 days of Hell Week." "Yes, Master Chief." Something crossed his face. Pride, maybe. Or memory. "Your father did something similar in 1989. Different circumstances. Same outcome." He paused. "He'd be proud, Kincaid." "Thank you, Master Chief." "Don't thank me yet. You still have 3 days of Hell Week left." but his voice had softened. Dismissed. Get food. You've earned it. Sloane walked toward the chow hall. Her legs barely functioned. Her mind was gone. But she'd done it. Behind her, she heard Bridger speak to another instructor. Find out who switched that map. When you do, bring them to me. That crosses a line. Day 4, Wednesday, halfway through Hell Week. Sloane had slept a total of 3 hours and 40 minutes since Sunday. Her body had become something alien. It moved, but only through sheer will. Muscles had stopped responding normally. She was running on something deeper than physical strength now. The evolution was simple. Combat dive training in the pool. Swim underwater for 50 meters. No breathing. 1 attempt. Failure rate was typically 60%. The human body rebels against oxygen deprivation. The mind screams. The urge to surface is overwhelming. Frost went before Sloane. He made it 40 meters before surfacing. Good, but not passing. Kincaid, you're up. She stood at the pool edge. The water was relatively warm compared to the ocean. 82 degrees. Luxurious. On my mark, go! She dove, started swimming. Frog kick, arms tight to her body, streamline, maximum efficiency. Her lungs were already compromised from 4 days of abuse. The oxygen debt built quickly. At 20 meters, her body was sending urgent signals. Breathe. Now. Emergency. She ignored them. At 30 meters, the signals became screaming. Her diaphragm began spasming. Her vision started to narrow. At 40 meters, she felt the first hints of shallow water blackout. The edges of her vision sparkled. Her thoughts became slow, disconnected. Her father's voice came through the static. Control your heart rate. Slow it down. Your mind controls your body, not the other way around. She focused, forced her heart to slow. 60 beats per minute. 55. 50. The oxygen lasted longer. The carbon dioxide buildup slowed. At 50 meters, her hand touched the wall. She surfaced, gasped. The world was gray and distant. Pass, the instructor called. 48 seconds. Outstanding. She pulled herself from the pool, collapsed on the deck. Quinn was there with a towel. How did you do that? He asked. You looked dead at 40 meters. Practice, she wheezed. What she didn't say, her father had trained her in breath holding from age 8, made her swim underwater until she thought she'd drown, taught her to override the panic response, to trust that the body has reserves beyond what the mind believes. Frost watched from across the pool. His expression was complex now. Not just anger, something else. Confusion, maybe. Or the first hints of respect, fighting with resentment. That afternoon, they ran the kill house. Close quarters battle training. The instructors had built a mock building. 2 stories, multiple rooms, simulated enemies. Sloane was assigned to a 4-man team. Frost, Marcus, Jake, and Quinn. The scenario? Hostage rescue. 8 enemy targets inside. 1 hostage. They had 3 minutes. First attempt, they failed. Disorganized entry, poor communication. They lost the hostage and 2 team members. The instructor shook his head. Pathetic. Run it again. But before the second attempt, he made a change. Kincaid, your team leader. Frost's head snapped around. What? I have 3 years military experience. I should lead. And you just failed. Kincaid, show me what you got. Sloane gathered the team. Her mind was operating on some other plane now, beyond exhaustion, in a space where clarity emerged from chaos. Frost and Marcus, you take the ground floor. 2-man room clearing. Jake, you secure the stairwell. No one comes up or down. Quinn and I take second floor. Locate hostage. You expect me to take orders from, Frost started. Yes, she cut him off. Because I'm team leader, and we're running out of time. You want to argue, or you want to pass this evolution? He glared, but nodded. Hand signals only inside. No verbal unless emergency. Flashbang on my mark. Standard CQB. Questions? None. Let's go. They executed. Frost and Marcus breached the ground floor. Sloane heard the flashbang, then the simulated gunfire. She and Quinn climbed the exterior stairs, entered the second floor through a window. Silent. Hand signals. Room left. Room right. Clear. Clear. The third room held the hostage, a dummy in civilian clothes surrounded by two enemies. Sloane signaled Quinn. You left, me right. They entered simultaneously. 2 shots each, both targets down. Hostage secured. Elapsed time, 1 minute, 45 seconds. The instructor examined the results. All targets neutralized. Hostage recovered. 0 friendly casualties. He looked at Sloane. Where did you learn to run CQB like that? My father trained me in the basics, instructor. He said SEAL tactics are just applied common sense under pressure. Your father was correct. The instructor turned to the others. This is what teamwork looks like. Different skills, one mission. Caldwell, your breaching was solid. Kincaid, your leadership was solid. Together, you succeeded. After the exercise, Frost approached Sloane away from the others. That was good, he said quietly. She looked at him, surprised. I still don't think women belong in the teams, he continued. But you can shoot, you can navigate, you can lead. He paused. My sister Wren. She couldn't do any of those things. She was strong, tough, but she didn't have the skills. I blamed the program, blamed the politics. He looked away. Maybe I was wrong. Your sister can learn, Sloane said. Skills can be taught, but only if someone wants to learn badly enough. She's training again. Plans to reapply next year. Good. Tell her if she makes it, I'll help however I can. Frost studied her. Why would you do that? Because we're not enemies. We're people trying to do the same impossible thing. The ocean doesn't care about our politics, only our capabilities. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. He held out his hand. Truce? She shook it. Truce. Day 5. Thursday evening. Hell Week was nearly over. A van arrived at the grinder. The door opened. An old man stepped out. Silver hair. Ramrod-straight posture. Eyes that had seen too much and remembered everything. Candidates, attention, Bridger commanded. This is Commander Nathaniel Cross, retired. He'll be speaking to you about the history of naval special warfare. Cross walked slowly to the front. He wore civilian clothes but moved like a warrior. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of decades. I served in SEAL Team 3 from 1988 to 2011. 23 years, multiple deployments. Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, places that don't officially exist. He paused. I'm here to tell you about Operation Phantom Fury, Helmand Province, March 2010. Sloane's heart stopped. We were conducting a reconnaissance mission. Intel suggested a Taliban commander was operating from a compound in the mountains. We went in quiet, 6-man team, standard op. Cross's voice remained steady, but his eyes grew distant. The intel was wrong. The compound was a trap. They were waiting. IED went off, collapsed part of the structure on us. Small arms fire from 3 directions. We were pinned. taking casualties. He paused. The candidates were absolutely silent. Our team leader was Master Chief Garrett Kincaid, call sign Reaper. Cross looked directly at Sloan. He assessed the situation in seconds. We were dead if we stayed, but we couldn't move with wounded. Sloan couldn't breathe. Reaper laid down covering fire, told us to extract. We argued. He ordered. A SEAL follows orders. Cross's voice roughened. He fired for 9 minutes. 9 minutes of continuous engagement. Gave us time to get wounded out, get to the extraction point. Tears tracked down Sloane's face. She didn't bother wiping them. He took 4 rounds, 2 to his plate carrier, 2 to his left leg. Could have pulled back, could have saved himself. He didn't. He stayed until we were clear. Cross stopped, swallowed. Last thing he said over comms, "Tell Sloan her old man fought well. Tell her I'm proud, no matter what she chooses." The silence was absolute. Master Chief Kincaid died so 6 of us could live. I was one of those 6.
Cross looked around at the candidates.
That is what it means to be a SEAL. Not the physical training, not the weapons. The willingness to lay down your life so your brothers can survive.
He walked directly to Sloan.
You must be Sloan. You have his eyes, his focus.
She couldn't speak. Tears were streaming now.
Your father was the finest warrior I ever served with, and he talked about you constantly. Showed us pictures, told us stories about teaching you to shoot, to navigate, to think like a SEAL.
Cross reached into his pocket, pulled out something small.
He gave me this before that mission. Said if he didn't make it, to give it to you when you were ready.
It was a dog tag, worn, stained, her father's name etched in the metal. Sloan took it with shaking hands.
He believed you'd be here someday.
Cross said quietly.
He believed you had what it takes. Not because of genetics, because of character. He stepped back. Prove him right. He walked away, back to the van, gone. Sloan stood holding her father's dog tag. The weight of it was impossible. The weight of his sacrifice, his belief, his love. Frost was beside her suddenly. Kincaid, I'm sorry. For everything. She looked at him. I was wrong about you. About all of it. His voice was rough. Your father saved 6 men. One of them saved others. The ripples go on forever. He paused. My sister's trying again because you showed her it's possible. That's another kind of saving. We're even then, Sloan said. No, we're not. But maybe we can be teammates. She nodded. Maybe we can. Hell Week ended on Friday afternoon. Of the 32 who started, 18 remained. Sloan was one of them. Frost was another. Master Chief Bridger stood before them. You survived. That doesn't make you SEALs. It makes you candidates who survived Hell Week. You have 8 more weeks of training. Most of you will fail some other way. He paused. But you've proven something. You've proven you can suffer and not quit. That's the foundation. Everything else builds on that. His eyes found Sloan. Some of you proved more than that. You proved that excellence doesn't recognize gender, only capability. He pulled something from his pocket. Kincaid, front and center. She stepped forward. Bridger held up a paper. This is the investigation into the map-switching incident. We identified the perpetrator. He's been removed from the program. It wasn't Frost, someone else. Someone who'd already quit on day 3. But that's not why I called you up here. Bridger pulled out something else. A photograph. This was taken in 1989, your father's Hell Week class. 28 started, 12 finished. He was one of them. The photo showed young men, exhausted, triumphant. In the back row, Sloane recognized her father, 24 years old, smiling. He set records that stood for years: shooting, swimming, navigation. Bridger looked at Sloane. This week, you broke 3 of his records, including his 50-meter underwater swim. His time was 51 seconds. Yours was 48. The other candidates were listening now, all of them. Master Chief Kincaid earned his trident through blood and sweat and unbreakable will. His daughter is proving she inherited all 3. Bridger held out his hand. You've earned the right to continue. Don't waste it. She shook his hand. I won't, Master Chief. That night, Sloane sat alone on Coronado Beach. The coordinates from her father's letter were burned into her mind. 32 degrees, 68 minutes, and 66 seconds north. 117 degrees, 18 minutes, and 39 seconds west. She'd looked them up. They pointed to a spot on this beach. She walked there now, found it by GPS. A secluded area where the beach curved, where the ocean met the sand in endless rhythm. And there, half buried in sand, was a small memorial stone. She knelt, brushed away sand. Read the inscription. Master Chief Garrett Reaper Kincaid, trained here, 1989 to 2010. True North finds those who seek it. Beneath the stone, wrapped in waterproof plastic, was a box. Inside, more photographs, training notes in her father's handwriting, and another letter. Sloane, if you found this, you made it past Hell Week. I knew you would. I built this memorial in 2009, before my last deployment, just in case. These coordinates, this was my thinking spot. I came here every evening before graduation, watched the sunset, reminded myself why I chose this path. You've proven you can suffer. Now prove you can lead. The remaining weeks will test different things: tactics, teamwork, mental flexibility. You have everything you need. I made sure of that. I love you. I'm proud of you. Always. Dad. Sloane sat watching the sunset, the same view her father had seen, the same ocean, the same sky. Bridger found her there an hour later. Wondered when you'd come here, he said. You knew about this? I helped him build it. 2009. He had a feeling about that deployment. Made preparations. Bridger sat beside her on the sand. He made me promise, if you ever came here, if you ever found this, I was to tell you something. What? That being a SEAL killed him, but it also made him, and he wanted you to understand that choice, the cost of it, the price you pay in blood and absence and missed birthdays. Bridger's voice was quiet. He didn't want you to follow him blindly. He wanted you to choose with open eyes. I choose this, Sloane said. I know. So did he. Bridger stood. 8 weeks left. They'll be different from Hell Week. Harder in some ways, easier in none. I'm ready. Yes. He looked at her. You are. Just like your father. He walked away, leaving Sloane alone with the ocean and the memories and the certain knowledge that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The sun set. The ocean whispered. And somewhere in the gathering dark, Sloane felt her father's presence, like a hand on her shoulder. She would finish this. For him, for herself, for every person who believed excellence was worth the cost. The remaining 8 weeks stretched ahead like a promise. She was ready to keep it. Week 12 arrived with California sunshine and the weight of finality. 18 candidates remained from the original 32. They'd survived Hell Week, survived the grinding weeks of tactical training, survived the ocean's attempts to kill them. Now came the final test. Long-range precision shooting. The evolution that separated good shooters from exceptional ones. The evolution that would determine who received specialized training as snipers. And the evolution that, 14 years ago, had made her father a legend. Sloane stood at the 1,000-yard line on Friday morning, checking her equipment. The Remington 700 lay before her, custom-built by the Naval Special Warfare Armory. Wooden stock, worn smooth, Schmidt and Bender scope calibrated to perfection. Chambered in .308 Winchester, the round that had won wars. Candidates, gather round. Master Chief Bridger stood beside a table bearing a single photograph. The image showed a young man in camouflage, eye pressed to a scope, body perfectly still. The caption read, Master Chief G. Kincaid, 1989. Range record 1,247 yards. In 1989, Master Chief Garrett Kincaid set the long-range record for this facility, Bridger said. The shot was considered impossible. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Heat distortion. He made it on his first attempt. He paused. That record has stood for 35 years. Today, we'll see if anyone can match it. Sloane felt eyes turn toward her. Expectation, pressure, legacy. The qualification is progressive. 800 yards, 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards. Each distance adds variables. Wind drift, bullet drop, Coriolis effect. Bridger's eyes swept the candidate. The final distance is optional. 1,400 yards. Few SEALs ever attempted. Fewer succeed. Frost stood near Sloane. He leaned close, whispered, No pressure, Kincaid. Just your father's legacy and everyone watching. She glanced at him, saw he was smiling, actual warmth in it. Thanks for that, she whispered back. What are teammates for? The shooting began. 800 yards first. 1 shot per candidate. The target was a 12-inch steel plate. Hit it, advance. Miss, you're done. Candidates fired in alphabetical order. Brennan Caldwell went third. He settled behind his rifle with the careful precision of someone who'd been trained well. Controlled breathing, smooth trigger press. The rifle cracked. Downrange, dust puffed, 3 inches left of the plate. Miss, Caldwell is secure. Frost stood, disappointment clear on his face. But he nodded to Sloane as he walked past. Show them how it's done. Jennings shot next. Hit. Morrison. Hit. Quinn. Miss. Kincaid, you're up. Sloane approached the firing line, lay prone, pulled the rifle into her shoulder. The wood was warm from sun, solid against her cheek. Through the scope, the world contracted to a circle of magnified distance. 12-inch plate, 800 yards, 2,400 feet, nearly half a mile. She checked the wind. Flags downrange showed 15 miles per hour, quartering from left. Temperature, 68 degrees. Humidity, moderate. Barometric pressure, standard. The calculations happened automatically. Years of her father drilling them into her brain. Bullet drop at 800 yards, approximately 17 feet. Elevation adjustment, 22 minutes of angle. Wind drift, 12 inches right at 15 miles per hour. Windage, 3 minutes right. She dialed the adjustments into her scope, checked twice. The math had to be perfect. Her breathing slowed, in through the nose, out through the mouth, finding the natural respiratory pause between breaths. That's where the shot lives, in the moment between breathing and not breathing. Her heart rate dropped, 60 beats per minute, 58, 55. The crosshairs settled on the plate, perfectly still. No wobble, no shake. The trigger waited. That familiar 3.5-pound wall between thought and action. She'd crossed it 10,000 times in training. This was just once more. She began to squeeze. Smooth. Continuous. No jerk. No anticipation. The rifle fired. The surprise break, when the shot happens without you expecting the exact moment. Recoil pushed into her shoulder. She rode it, maintained cheek weld, watched through the scope. Time of flight, 1 full second. The bullet crossed 800 yards. Clang! Direct hit, center mass. Kincaid advances. She stood, walked back. Jennings offered a fist bump. She took it. By the time 800 yards was complete, only 12 candidates remained. 1,000 yards. The distance where physics became personal, where every variable mattered, where the Earth's rotation started to affect bullet flight. The Coriolis effect. In the northern hemisphere, bullets drift right. At 1,000 yards, approximately 4 inches. Negligible to amateurs, critical to professionals. Sloan shot 5th. The calculations were more complex now. Bullet drop, 33 feet. Wind drift with 18-mile-per-hour gusts, 28 inches. Coriolis, 4 inches right. Temperature effect on powder burn rate. Barometric pressure affecting air density. She made her adjustments, breathed, fired. The bullet took 1.4 seconds to arrive. Clang. Hit. 2 inches right of center. 8 candidates remained. 1,200 yards. 3/4 of a mile. The distance where ammunition quality mattered. Where a single grain of powder variance could mean the difference between hit and miss. The wind had picked up. 20 miles per hour, gusting to 23. The flags were snapping. Conditions were degrading. Jennings shot. Miss, 8 inches low. Morrison shot. Hit, barely. Edge of the plate. Sloan's turn. She ran the numbers again. Bullet drop, 48 feet, nearly 5 stories. The bullet would arc like a rainbow. Wind drift with gusts, 38 inches, more than 3 feet. Coriolis, 5 inches. Spin drift, 2 inches. Total adjustment, 34 minutes of angle elevation. 10 minutes windage. She dialed it in, triple-checked. At this distance, 1 minute of angle error meant a 12-inch miss. The crosshairs danced slightly in the wind. She waited, watching, reading the flags downrange. The wind was cyclical, gusts every 30 seconds. Between gusts, there was a lull. She waited for the lull. The flags dropped slightly. 3-second window. Breathe. Pause. Press. Crack! 1.8 seconds of flight time. An eternity. The bullet fought wind, gravity, the Earth's rotation. Sloan didn't blink. Watched through the scope. Clang! Dead center. Kincaid advances. 6 candidates left. The 1,200-yard distance had claimed half the remaining shooters. Master Chief Bridger stepped forward. The 1,400-yard shot is optional. It's beyond standard SEAL qualification. This distance wasn't even attempted until operations in Afghanistan, where mountainous terrain demanded extended range capability. He gestured to the target. Master Chief Kincaid's record of 1247 has never been approached. 1,400 exceeds it by more than 4 football fields. He paused. Let that sink in. Current conditions: wind gusting to 25 miles per hour. Temperature dropping as evening approaches. Thermal effects will shift point of impact. Humidity rising. Light fading. His voice softened. This shot is nearly impossible. I don't expect anyone to attempt it, let alone make it. Sloan stood. I'll shoot, Master Chief. Bridger looked at her. Something passed across his face. Memory, maybe, or recognition. You understand the conditions? Yes, Master Chief. You understand this exceeds your father's record? Yes, Master Chief. Why attempt it? She pulled out the compass he'd given her, opened it, read the inscription aloud. True north finds those who seek it. Bridger nodded slowly. Then shoot, Kincaid. Show us what the Reaper's daughter can do. She walked to the firing line. Behind her, she heard footsteps. The other 5 candidates followed, not competing, supporting. They lined up along the berm, watching. Frost was closest. 12 weeks ago, I wanted you to fail, he said quietly. Now I want you to make this shot more than anything. For him. For you. Thanks, Frost. Brennan, he corrected. We're teammates now. Use my name. She smiled. Thanks, Brennan. Sloan settled behind the rifle. Her father's compass lay beside her. The dog tag Commander Cross had given her hung around her neck, hidden beneath her shirt. The memorial stone's coordinates were etched in her memory. 1,400 yards, 1.28 kilometers, 4,200 feet. Through the scope, the target looked impossibly small. A 12-inch plate at nearly a mile. The size of a dinner plate seen from 8 blocks away. The calculations were brutal. Bullet drop, 52.3 feet. More than a 5-story building. Elevation adjustment, 38 minutes of angle. Wind drift, with 25-mile-per-hour gusts, possibly 46 inches, nearly 4 feet. The wind was inconsistent. Reading it was part art, part science, part prayer. Windage, 11 minutes right. Coriolis effect at this latitude, 5.2 inches. Windage adjustment, 0.4 minutes right. Spin drift, 3.1 inches. Another 0.2 minutes. Temperature, dropping from 68 to 64 degrees. Powder burn rate would slow. Muzzle velocity would drop by approximately 8 feet per second. Vertical impact shift, 6 inches low. Additional elevation, 0.5 minutes. Barometric pressure, 30.15 inches of mercury. Standard, no adjustment needed. Total corrections, 38.5 minutes elevation, 11.6 minutes windage right. She made the adjustments. Her hands were steady. 12 weeks of training had burned away any uncertainty. She knew this rifle, knew this ammunition, knew herself. But there was something else, something her father had written in his final letter. She closed her eyes, remembered his words from the letter at the memorial. At this distance, you don't aim with your eyes. You aim with your soul. What did that mean? She'd pondered it for weeks. Now, with the shot before her, she understood. At 1,400 yards, no amount of calculation guaranteed success. Too many variables, too much chaos. Wind that shifted moment to moment. Thermal currents rising from the warm ground. Mirage effects that bent light and made accurate ranging impossible. Mathematics could take you close, but the final margin, the difference between hit and miss, required something else. Intuition. Feel. The accumulated wisdom of 10,000 shots fired, synthesized into instinctive knowledge. Her father had possessed that knowledge, had passed it to her through years of training, not in words, in muscle memory, in the way he'd made her shoot in wind, in heat, in cold, until she could feel the bullet's path before it left the barrel. Sloane opened her eyes, settled into position, became part of the rifle, part of the earth, part of the system that would send this bullet across distance. Her breathing slowed, 40 breaths per minute, 30, 20, 16. Her heart rate dropped, 60 beats per minute, 55, 52. The world shrank. The observers disappeared. The base disappeared. There was only the rifle, the target, and the space between. She watched the wind flags, 25 miles per hour, gust, drop to 18, gust to 28, drop to 20. The pattern was irregular but present. Every 45 seconds, a lull, a 3-second window where the wind dropped below 20. She waited, watched the flags, counted seconds. 43, 44, 45. The flags dropped. Wind fell to 18 miles per hour. Her crosshairs settled. She'd aimed for the 18-mile-per-hour wind, not the 25, betting on the lull. Respiratory pause. Between heartbeats. She pressed the trigger. The rifle fired. Recoil. Ride it. Stay in the scope. Watch. The bullet launched at 2,700 feet per second, started its arc immediately, climbing against gravity, fighting wind, spinning right from rifling, drifting right from Coriolis. It climbed for the first 700 yards, apex of trajectory, 6 feet above the line of sight. Then gravity took over. The bullet began to fall. At 1,000 yards, it had dropped 23 feet from its highest point. At 1,200 yards, 38 feet total drop from bore line. At 1,300 yards, the bullet was traveling at 1,800 feet per second. Still supersonic, but slowing rapidly. The wind pushed it. Right. The Coriolis effect added its small contribution. The spin drift nudged it further. At 1,400 yards, the bullet had been in flight for 2.1 seconds. An eternity. Sloane didn't blink, didn't breathe, watched through the scope. The bullet arrived. For one infinite moment, nothing. Silence. The universe held its breath. Then, clang. The sound carried across the range. Pure, clean, unmistakable. Behind Sloane, someone shouted. Then everyone shouted. She stayed in position, watched through the scope as the range officer drove a truck downrange to verify. Saw him get out, examine the target. Pull out a measuring tape. His voice came over the radio. Confirming impact, center plate. Offset from exact center, 1.8 inches right, 0.6 inches low. Sloane stood. Her legs were shaking, not from exhaustion, from the release of tension that had built over 12 weeks, 14 years, a lifetime. Bridger was there. His weathered face showed something she'd never seen before. Emotion, raw and unfiltered. "Your father's record was 1247 yards, he said quietly. You just made a shot at 1400. In worse conditions, on your first attempt." His voice broke slightly. He couldn't finish. Didn't need to. Jennings grabbed her in a bear hug. "That was impossible. You made an impossible shot." Morrison was next, then others. Frost approached last. He held out his hand. When she took it, he pulled her into a brief embrace. "Your father saved 6 men," he said in her ear. "One of them trained me, taught me what it means to be a SEAL. That legacy continues through you." He stepped back. "Thank you for showing me that excellence doesn't recognize gender, only capability." Commander Cross emerged from a vehicle Sloan hadn't noticed. He walked slowly to the firing line, looked downrange at the target, looked at Sloan. "March 2010, Helmand Province. Your father's last shot was at 900 yards. Took out a machine gun position. Saved my life, specifically." His eyes were wet. "He told me once that teaching you to shoot was his proudest accomplishment. Not his combat record, not his decorations. Teaching his daughter to be better than him." Cross reached into his jacket, pulled out a worn envelope. "He gave me this before that mission. Made me promise to give it to you only if you accomplish something he never did. Break a shooting record he held dear." Cross handed her the envelope. "You've earned this." Sloane's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a single page, her father's handwriting. "Sloane, if Cross is giving you this, you made a shot I never could. I'm proud. Wherever I am, I'm cheering. The shot doesn't matter. The record doesn't matter. What matters is you proved that excellence is earned, not inherited. You didn't ride my reputation. You built your own. I trained you not to make you me. I trained you to make you better than me. Mission accomplished. The coordinates I left you, 32.6866 degrees north, 117.1839 degrees west. That's where I took my record shot. Where I pushed myself to my limit and found I had more. You stood in the same place, faced worse conditions, and exceeded me. That's not my legacy. That's yours. I love you. I'm proud of you. Always. Dad. P.S. The trident you'll earn is yours. The one Cross will give you is mine. Carry both. Remember, we all stand on shoulders of those who came before." Sloane looked up, tears streaming, beyond caring who saw. Cross reached into his pocket, pulled out a trident pin. Worn, gold faded to brass in places. The eagle, anchor, and trident that marked a qualified seal. "This was your father's, from 1989. He wore it for 21 years. Cross pressed it into her hand. "Carry it until you earn your own, then decide what to do with it." The weight was impossible. The weight of sacrifice, legacy, love. Graduation ceremony was the following Monday. The grinder was transformed, bleachers erected, families invited, flags snapping in Pacific wind. 18 graduates stood in formation, 18 from 32. The attrition rate was better than usual. Bridger had mentioned that strong candidates often pulled weaker ones through. Teamwork manifesting. Sloane's mother sat in the front row, gray-haired now, eyes wet, She'd been 15 when her husband deployed for the last time, had raised Sloane alone for 14 years, had supported this insane dream even when it terrified her. The base commander spoke, then Bridger, then Commander Cross. This class faced unique challenges, Cross said. For the first time, a woman not only completed the program, she excelled, set records, demonstrated that the ocean doesn't care about chromosomes, only capability. He gestured to Sloane. Master Chief Garrett Kincaid was my friend, my teammate, the man who saved my life. Today, his daughter proved she inherited his skill, his determination, and his unbreakable will. Cross's voice strengthened. But she didn't inherit her place here. She earned it. Through blood, sweat, and tears. Through suffering that would have broken most men. Through demonstrating that excellence is genderless. The ceremony continued. Awards, recognitions. Sloane received honor graduate, highest overall scores, top shooting marks, excellence in leadership. Quinn, academic excellence, highest written test scores in the class. He approached Sloane after the ceremony. My brother quit on day 4. I almost did too. But watching you navigate without a map, complete that dive after 3 days of Hell Week, you showed me what unbreakable looks like. He smiled. Thanks for that, Kincaid. Then came the moment. The symbolic trident pinning. Not official, they'd earned the real trident after SEAL qualification training, but symbolic. Recognition of having survived BUD/S. Bridger approached each graduate, pinned the trident to their uniforms, shook hands. When he reached Sloane, he paused. Master Chief Garrett Kincaid was the finest SEAL I ever knew, he said, loudly enough for everyone to hear. He trained his daughter from age 7, not to make her follow in his footsteps, but to give her the choice to forge her own path. He pinned the symbolic trident to her uniform. Today, she proved that her path leads to the same place his did. Excellence earned through unbreakable will. Bridger's voice softened. Reaper would be proud. He stepped back, saluted. She returned it. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a second trident. Worn. Real. Her father's. He wanted you to have this when you earned yours. You've earned it. He pinned it beside the symbolic one. 2 tridents, father and daughter. Separated by decades, united by excellence. The ceremony concluded. Families flooded the grinder. Sloane's mother embraced her, sobbing. You did it. Oh, God, you did it. I did it, Sloane whispered. For him. For us. He'd be so proud. I know. That evening, Sloane returned to the coordinates one final time. The memorial stone, her father's thinking place. Frost found her there. Figured you'd be here, he said. They sat in silence, watching the sunset. The same view her father had seen 1,000 times. I was wrong about you, Frost said finally. Wrong about women in the teams. Wrong about everything. He looked at her. My sister Wren called yesterday. She's reapplying next cycle. Because of you. Because you proved it's possible. Tell her I'll help however I can. I did, she cried. Frost smiled. Good tears. Hopeful tears. More footsteps. Jennings appeared first, then Quinn. Morrison followed. The Morrison from her boat crew who'd helped lift the log when she'd collapsed. Not the older Morrison from Team 5. Different man, same name, same loyalty. One by one, her class gathered at the memorial, 18 graduates, standing together as the sun set over the Pacific. Bridger spoke first. Master Chief Kincaid sat here before his graduation in 1989. Told me once that this spot reminded him why we do this, why we suffer, why we train to the point of breaking. He gestured to the ocean. We do it because somewhere out there people sleep safe in their beds. They don't know we exist, don't know what we sacrifice, don't know that men and women stand ready to lay down their lives so they can live theirs in peace. He looked at Sloan. Your father understood that, died for it. And his daughter has proven she understands it too. Silence. Just the whisper of waves. Cross spoke next. March 2010, Helmand Province. Garrett Kincaid gave everything so 6 of us could live. Those 6 went on to train others, fight other battles, save other lives. He looked around at the assembled graduates. Legacy isn't about what you accomplish. It's about what you enable others to accomplish. He put his hand on Sloan's shoulder. Your father's legacy isn't his shooting records or his decorations. It's you and everyone you'll go on to train, to fight beside, to inspire. His voice roughened. Master Chief Kincaid's work continues through you. The sun touched the horizon. Gold light painted the ocean, the same light that had painted it for millions of years, the same light that would paint it for millions more. Sloan stood, pulled out both tridents, the symbolic one from today, the real one from her father, held them up to the dying light. My father taught me that being a SEAL isn't about physical strength. It's about the strength to continue when continuation seems impossible. Her voice carried over the sound of surf. He taught me that excellence is earned, not inherited, that the ocean tests everyone equally, that your only limits are the ones you accept. She pinned both tridents back on her uniform. I didn't complete BUD/S because of his name. I completed it despite the burden that name carried. I didn't break his records because of his genes. I broke them because of his lessons. She looked at each person gathered. We're not here because we're special. We're here because we chose not to quit when quitting was the logical choice. We chose suffering over comfort, mission over self, team over individual. The sun was halfway down now, minutes remaining. My father's call sign was Reaper. When I earn my trident for real, when I join a team, my call sign will be Phantom. She smiled. Not because I'm copying him, because I'm honoring him while being myself. Reaper took lives to save lives. Phantom will do the same. But Phantom is not Reaper's shadow. Phantom is Reaper's daughter, walking her own path that happens to lead to the same place. The sun touched the ocean, began to sink below the horizon. To Master Chief Garrett Kincaid, to all those who came before, to the legacy we carry forward. To the legacy, the others echoed. The sun disappeared. Twilight claimed the beach. They stood in silence for several minutes. Then, by unspoken agreement, left, back to barracks, back to preparation for the next phase. All except Bridger and Sloan. 8 months from now, you'll graduate SQT, Bridger said. Earn your real trident. Get assigned to a team. SEAL Team 5, I hope, Sloan said. Probably. They requested you specifically. Your shooting scores got attention. He paused. Your father served with Team 3. You'll serve with Team 5. Different lineage, but same mission. Good. I don't want to serve where he did. I want my own path. Smart. Bridger turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. Your father left something else. Told me to give it to you when you graduated. He pulled out a small box. Inside, a worn K-bar knife. The blade showed use. The handle was wrapped in paracord, faded from sun and time. He carried this on every deployment. Saved his life twice. Took enemy lives when necessary. Bridger's voice was quiet. He wanted you to have it. Said a SEAL's knife is like their soul. Shaped by use, tested by fire, made valuable by what it endures. Sloan took the knife, drew it. The blade was still sharp, still ready. He maintained it before every mission, like a ritual. Bridger watched her examine it. Now it's your ritual, your reminder. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me. Just honor what he gave you, not the knife, the lessons. He walked away, left her alone with the knife, the tridents, the memory of her father's voice carried on ocean wind. 8 months later, November 2024, SEAL Team 5 Headquarters, Joint Expeditionary Base, Little Creek, Fort Story, Virginia. Sloan Kincaid stood in full kit. M4A1 carbine, her father's rifle, carried through training and now into service. Sig Sauer P226 holstered at her thigh, K-bar knife strapped to her vest, plate carrier bearing her official trident, earned 3 weeks ago upon completion of SQT. Her father's trident was pinned inside her chest pocket, next to her heart, hidden, personal. Around her, SEAL Team 5 prepared for deployment, Middle East, counterterrorism operations, the same mission her father had died executing 14 years ago. Senior Chief Dalton Pierce approached, 47 years old, team leader, veteran of 4 deployments. Kincaid, you ready? Yes, Senior Chief. I served with your father in 2008, Iraq. He was the best shot I ever saw. Pierce studied her. Heard you broke his record. 1,400 yards. Is that true? Yes, Senior Chief. Good. We need that skill set where we're going. He gestured to the assembled team. These men know your record, know your scores, know you earned your place, but they're still going to test you, watch you, judge you. I expect nothing less, Senior Chief. Smart. Pierce handed her a helmet. Your call sign is official. Command approved it. Phantom. She took the helmet. Her name and call sign were stenciled on the back. Kincaid, Phantom. Thank you, Senior Chief. Don't thank me. Just shoot straight. He almost smiled. Like your old man. The team gathered for final brief. 12 SEALs. 11 men in Sloan. Some faces were neutral, some skeptical, a few openly hostile. One SEAL, older, maybe 50, approached her. His name tape read Morrison. Different Morrison from Bud/S. Heard about you, he said. Reaper's daughter. Broke his record. Top of your class. His expression was unreadable. Also heard you're the first woman to make it through. That true? Yes. Good. He held out his hand. I've been doing this 28 years. Seen a lot of candidates. Most men wash out, some women wash out. What matters isn't gender, it's capability. He squeezed her hand. Welcome to Team 5. Prove you belong every single day, just like the rest of us. I will. The brief began. Mission parameters, intelligence reports, threat assessment, rules of engagement. Sloan absorbed it all, took notes, asked clarifying questions when appropriate. At the end, Pierce looked directly at her. Phantom, you're assistant team leader for this op. Questions? Every head turned. Assistant team leader on her first deployment. Unheard of. Before she could respond, another SEAL spoke up. With respect, Senior Chief, she's brand new. No combat experience. Why ATL? Because her scores qualify her. Because her shooting skills are needed. Because I say so. Pierce's voice was flat, hard. Anyone have a problem with that? Speak now. Silence. Good. Brief concluded. Wheels up in 2 hours. Dismissed. As the team dispersed, Pierce pulled Sloan aside. You're getting ATL because you earned it, but also because I want to see how you handle pressure. His eyes were intense. Your father earned respect by demonstrating capability under fire. You'll do the same. No shortcuts, no legacy carrying you. I understand, Senior Chief. I hope so, because where we're going, mistakes kill people. I need to know you can lead when it matters. I can. Prove it. 2 hours later, Sloan sat in an MH-60S Seahawk helicopter, full combat load, night vision goggles mounted on her helmet. Her father's compass in her pocket, his trident pinned inside her vest. Before boarding, a woman approached her on the tarmac, younger, early 20s, wearing Navy PT gear. She had Frost's gray eyes. Sloan Kincaid? The woman asked. Yes. I'm Wren Caldwell, Brennan's sister. She held out her hand. I start BUD/S in 3 weeks. My brother told me if I had questions, you'd help. Sloan shook her hand, felt the calluses, the strength. You've been training. Every day for a year. Learned from my mistakes. Wren's eyes were intense. I'm not the same person who quit 2 years ago. I'm ready now. Good. When you get to Hell Week, remember, your mind quits before your body does. Control the mind, control the outcome. That's what Brennan said you told him, Wren smiled. Thank you for showing him and me that it's possible. Sloan watched her walk away. Another link in the chain. Another person carrying the legacy forward. Morrison, the older SEAL, sat across from her. He leaned forward, spoke over the rotor noise. Your father saved my brother in Ramadi, 2006. Different Morrison. He didn't make it anyway. Died 2 months later in Fallujah. His eyes were hard with memory. But those 2 months, my brother got to see his daughter born, got to hold her, name her, because your father bought him time. Morrison pulled out a photo. A young girl, maybe 8 years old. That's my niece. She exists because Reaper fought for every second. He put the photo away. I owe your father. Can't repay him. But I can watch out for his daughter. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Not because you're weak. Because that's what teammates do. Sloan nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. The helicopter crossed the Atlantic. Hours passed. Sloan slept fitfully, dreamed of her father, of the memorial stone, of the impossible shot that had proven she was worthy. When she woke, the helicopter was descending, landing at a forward operating base. Sand, heat, the smell of dust and JP-8 fuel. She was here, in the same kind of place her father had fought, had died. But she wasn't him. She was herself. Phantom. Ready for her first mission. Ready to prove that the legacy continued, not in shadow, but in light. The helicopter touched down. The ramp dropped. Middle Eastern heat rolled in like a wave. Sloan grabbed her rifle, checked the chamber, loaded, ready. Pierce's voice in her headset. Phantom, Welcome to the war. Let's see what Reaper's daughter can do. She stepped off the helicopter into burning sunlight, into history, into her own story. Behind her, the ghost of her father smiled. Ahead, the future waited. She was ready for both.